everybody, it's your girl Precious Ray, and I'm here for another review of Insecure Season 3, Episode 2. I got my handy dandy notes this time. Well, I had it the last time as well, but yes, I have it this time. So let's get right into it. So the episode opens with Issa at her job, and I mentioned in my previous episode that I'm hoping to see Issa's growth, and we do get to see some hints of her growth in this episode, and not just her, also Daniel. Another interesting thing about this episode is that we didn't see Molly, which is kind of cool. I have no problem with Molly not being in this episode. It was mainly Issa and Daniel. So yeah, so Issa's at her job, and they're having a meeting about the logo of the company. And if you remember in the previous episode, Issa did call the schools that decided to remove their partnership with We Got Y'all. And I guess Joanne, I think that's her name, the boss, she got word about the logo of the company. So the logo is a white hand uplifting black kids. So some schools did see that logo as being racist. Joanne, I wouldn't consider her a racist per se. She's just very tone deaf. Like, I think she has like this savior complex, or she's gonna go. She's a white woman, in case you didn't know. For those of you that are watching this and never watched Insecure, so she's this white lady that wants to go into these undeserving neighborhoods and try to help them out and so on and so forth. And she creates this logo. She's, like I said, she's very tone deaf. She comes from a good place, but as I said, she kind of comes off as having this savior complex. So surprisingly to me, the people that were vocal about the direction of We Got Y'all and the direction and the logo of We Got Y'all were the employers that were also tone deaf and kind of racist. In the previous seasons, there's that white girl with the short hair and the glasses, the gay white guy, and of course the tone deaf person of color. Sarah, I followed Issa and her misadventures of awkward black girl days, and that's Cindy, the Indian chick from Issa's web series. But yes, Sarah is a representative of other people of color that are also tone deaf as well. So they're here talking and saying, we should change the logo. The gay guy said the logo should be, the hand shouldn't be white. It should be a rainbow color to include everybody. Then the white girl with the glasses that has the short hair, she said, oh, it shouldn't be, the logo has 2 boys and 1 girl. Come on, time's up. And then there's this one girl, she's sort of like this sort of cynical type of person. She said the only person's opinion that's going to matter right now is Issa. And everybody looked at Issa, and Issa went into one of her fantasies, basically saying, oh, all of y'all wanna act woke when a bitch was an alarm clock. Beep, beep, motherfuckers, beep, beep. And then she came out of her fantasy and she did her passive aggressive response. Oh, what was said so far is good. I appreciate that you guys said that. And she brushed it off. Another part of Issa's growth that I like to see is her speaking up when she's asked to speak up. Like, I believe this was her opportunity to actually come forth and give her views on certain things. They literally looked to you for your opinion. And I know you don't want to come up, I understand that you don't want to come off as the angry black woman, but this was the time when you could have brought up the fact that you called these schools. You could have brought forth the complaints that some of the schools do have at this meeting, and that would have well, force them to listen to you, since they did ask you about your opinion. Instead, a couple of scenes later, she privately goes into Joanne's office and she talks to Joanne about some of the issues um, that she did discover when she called the other schools. And I don't know if Joanne would be willing to listen to her, because as I mentioned, as I mentioned in the previous review, Issa is kind of on her shit list because of because of the incident that happened previously. Oh, let me put my phone on vibrate. Because of the incident that happened with the vice principal of the middle school, the high school where she did work at. If she did voice her opinion in front of everybody during the meeting, Joanne will be forced to listen to Issa, and Issa will have witnesses she will have witnesses when she speaks what on the information that she found out from the other schools. And it's not as if nobody was going to support Issa if she had brought up some of the grievances that the schools did have, because everybody else everybody agreed on certain things that needed to be changed with Gakshaw. And then a couple of scenes later, she was at lunch with her coworkers, and one of the things that Issa did say is, she doesn't want to be the voice of every black person. And then the gay white guy was like, listen, I'm gay, you're black. It is what it is. Sometimes we have to speak out for people within our communities. And, it sucks that it has to be that way, but sometimes it is that way. Sometimes you do have to speak up for people within your community, especially if you come from a very underrepresented community, whether it's the black community, the Latino, gay, whatever. And if you're that only minority within a majority setting, unfortunately, sometimes you do have to speak up. And like I said, this was Issa's time to speak up and report what the schools were, report the problems that the school had with Gakshaw. I think that was her time to shine, and unfortunately, because she's so passive aggressive and she doesn't necessarily like to voice out her opinion, she didn't do that. And it's something that we see in her relationships. Like, she did that with Lawrence, and she kind of did that with Daniel as well. Well, not kind of. She did do that with Daniel. And yeah, she did that with Daniel. So I want to see her. I'm hoping that, yes, she missed the opportunity to speak her voice in the meeting. But after that little lunch, after the lunch that she had with her coworkers, she did get some sort of courage to speak to Joanne privately. But it would have been really better if she had done that at the meeting. And like I said, I'm hoping that she will either push, and when I say push, not say, bitch, you better promote me, but she will be more proactive. And when Joanne sees that she is being proactive, it will get Joanne to promote Issa. If not, I think it's best that Issa will leave Gakshaw. And by the way, she's applying for some project manager position. So about that. So Issa goes to her friend Khalees. Is it Khalees or Kelly? Oh my God. Kelly. I think it's Kelly. She goes to her friend Kelly, who's an accountant. And her friend is basically trying to tell her, listen, the reason why you're not able to get these apartments because your credit score. I think I saw in Kelly's computer screen that Issa's credit score is 425. I think that's below average, I think. I don't know, because my credit score is much higher than that, thank God. So Issa is like, is there anything that I can do? Because I basically told Daniel that I'm going to stay at his place for a couple of weeks, I can't afford to, I don't want to overstay my welcome. And Kelly was like, listen, Issa, you do not have enough money to live on your own. If you can, try to chip, like tell Daniel, hey, I got you for the rent or something like that. And then Issa was like, I don't pay anything to Daniel. And Kelly was like, oh, really? Are you concubining? Meaning, are you and Daniel having sex? And she's like, no. And Kelly was like, nothing? No. Touching it, fucking it, sucking it, nothing? And Issa was like, no, we're not doing any of those things. And then Kelly was like, okay, are you cooking, cleaning, anything? Grocery shopping? And Issa was like, no. And Kelly was like, damn, bro, you gotta do something. This man is allowing you to stay in his place rent free. You're not paying any bills, no nothing. He's not even asking you for sex. But the little things that you can do, like cooking and cleaning, you gotta do something, Issa, to make him basically to convince him for you to stay over a little bit longer. And I kind of like this conversation. I'm not saying that because if you're staying with somebody from the opposite sex, that means that you have to put out. But you don't have to go that far, and you shouldn't have to go that far. But what I am saying is, if you can't contribute financially, try to do something around the house to show that you're appreciating the fact that they are allowing you to stay at their place for free. There's not a lot of people that will allow you to stay inside their house for free. I even think some family members would do that. It's either you gotta pay a bill or do something, or at least I don't know. But it just shows that in a way Issa doesn't really expect to do anything for Daniel. I don't know if I'm saying this the right way, but there have been some discussions about Issa being sort of selfish. She really doesn't care or consider other people, even when other people are helping them and so on and so helping her. She really doesn't. She has a problem asking for help and in a way sort of being thankful. I hope I'm not going to get people to to hate me for saying this, but it just amazes me that Issa isn't doing something around the house. In the previous review, I did mention that I think Issa is at least buying food, but she's not even doing that. So Issa is, with this conversation with Kelly, she's realizing that, damn, like I'm staying at this person's house and I'm not doing anything to contribute to the household. So she calls Daniel, and eventually he does pick up. We found out right at the beginning of the episode, when Issa's at her job, that Daniel hasn't been in the house for a couple of days. So he's basically pulling off on Lawrence. Remember in the previous season, Lawrence will stay over at Tasha's house over the weekend, and then Sunday he will leave her house. So Daniel's kind of doing the same thing with Issa, but I think it's a way of, I guess, sort of avoiding her. And I don't know why he would be avoiding Issa. I guess it's because, well, I really don't know. I can't even think of anything, but it seems as if he's trying to maintain his distance from Issa. So eventually, we see a scene where Daniel is at Vanessa's house, one of the chicks that he is having sex with. And he's trying to form some sort of a connection with Vanessa, but Vanessa is just not, she's not reciprocating it. Like, he's putting it out there, but Vanessa is not taking it in. She even sort of hints at Daniel, okay, you need to leave my place. He tries to talk to her about his music. She's really not paying attention. It's as if she doesn't really care. So he's like, all right, obviously things are not working out between him and me and Vanessa. But the funny thing is, in the next scene, a couple of scenes later, Issa calls Daniel, and eventually he picks up, and Issa tells him about her financial situation. She tells him that she did go see Kelly, and Kelly basically tells her that she's not financially where she needs to be to go out on her own. So Issa asks Daniel, hey, can I stay with you for an extra week or so? And then Daniel gives this bullshit, this BS lie. Issa, you can stay for a week, but my girl, Vanessa, she's having a problem with you being over at the house, so I can only give you a week. And Issa's like, okay, all right, cool. So that was a straight up lie because, as I said in the previous scene, he's trying to form something with Vanessa, but Vanessa is not reciprocating back to him. And he basically sees that it's not working out between him and Vanessa. So, in the next scene, I love this scene because I can relate to this scene so well. She's cleaning up Daniel's house, and she's sweeping, she's mopping, all these other things, and then she pulls back the toaster and she sees what looks like to be a spider, but she thinks it's a hair. And then she's like, well, it's a hair. Let me see. And then she realizes it's a dead spider, and she starts screaming. I related so much to this scene because I live on my own, okay? And it sucks when if I'm cleaning something or, like, especially during the springtime, bugs, like centipedes, they just love coming into this house during the freaking spring and summer. That's why even though I fucking hate the winter, at least I have no damn bugs in my house. So there was a time when I'm getting ready for work and I go inside the tub to put on the water because sometimes I allow the shower to run so it can be nice and warm, and then I get inside the shower. So as I'm about to turn on the water, I see that there's a fucking spider in the bathtub, and I stand there and I scream for like a good minute or two. I'm like, ah! Like I'm screaming there, and stupidly I'm screaming at the spider, get out from my bathtub! And of course the spider is looking at me like, bitch, And so I go and get a letter. Like I have mail, right? So I go get the mail and I just start like swapping the spider to get out of the bathtub. And so the spider is there, running around the bathtub. I'm like, get out. Eventually he does get out the bathtub, and I try to like shoo him away. Like, there are times I enjoy living on my own, but there are times when I do wish I can like summon a guy. Like, I wish I like the commercial for State Farm, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. So I wish I can do something like that and summon a guy, and of course, poof, he appears and he's like, what is it now? Like, there is a spider in my bathtub. Please get rid of it. And then he takes care of the problem, and he's like, anything else? I'm like, nah, I'm good. And he's like, all right. And then I do the little jingle, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And then he poofs away. Like, I wish I had that ability because, I'm not about that bug life. But anyway, so I felt that. I felt that scene. And there are times when I have natural hair. There are times, when you comb your hair and sometimes you don't do a really perfect job of cleaning your hair balls. So sometimes I'll see something black on my bed and I'm like, I scream a little. I'm like, ah, what is that? And I look closer and they're like, oh, it's just my hair. And then I'll take it and throw it in the garbage. Like, oh my God, the natural hair life. The struggle. But anyways, so Daniel, he comes inside the house and he sees Issa cleaning. He's like, oh shit, you cleaning? She's like, yeah, and he's frustrated because his homeboy from the previous episode promised to introduce him to this new up and coming artist, that Daniel is interested in working with. He wants to produce some beats for him. And this is where we see Daniel's insecurities and his pride sort of get in his way. And Issa is like, hey, even though his friend was supposed, he and his friend was supposed to go to the club to meet the rapper, but his friend is flaky. His friend basically backed out at the last minute. So then he tells Issa, asks him, hey, what's wrong? Daniel tells her, and Issa's like, I'll go with you. And Daniel, his pride comes in. He's like, nah, you don't need to do that. Issa's like, come on, you've come through for me. It's my time to come through for you. And so they go to the club. Daniel's boy was supposed to give the heads up to the club for Daniel, meaning to put his name on the list. His friend, like I said, is flaky. So when they got to the club, when Daniel and Issa got to the club, we see that they go to the bodyguard, and the bodyguard looks at the list. Daniel's name is not on the list. So then they have a friend, I think his name is Kendall or something like that. He shows up at the club. He and the bodyguard are cool. And I think like Daniel, Kendall is also a music producer. And Issa knows him because they all went to high school together. I only thought that Issa and Daniel knew each other from college. I didn't know they went way back to high school. So Issa and Daniel, they have history. Not to say that they went to. I thought they only went to college to each other. So like, okay, they do have history with each other, but all the way from high school, that's history right there. So they've known each other. They should be in their 30s right now. So they've probably known each other for more than 15 years. So that's a pretty long time. So Kendall, he offers to basically help out Daniel and Issa to get inside the club. And of course Daniel's pride gets in the way. He's like, nah, I'm cool. And Issa looks at Daniel like, come on, this is your chance, this is your time. And so eventually Daniel's like, all right, we'll go with you. So Kendall's like, cool. He tells the bodyguard they with me. So they get inside the club. Kendall once again offers for both Daniel and Issa to come sit at his table because he has a VIP table. And of course Daniel rejects it. His pride, his ego. So Issa goes to get drinks for Daniel. She bumps into this dude with the braces trying to hit on her while she's at the bar. These two girls try to hit up Daniel. They recognize him and they ask him if he still sells weed, and Daniel's like, no, I don't do that anymore. And the girls just basically leave him. And it kind of shows that both Issa and Daniel they've both outgrew the club scene, as most people do when they reach their 30s. So Daniel, the rap artist that he wants to produce beats for, he's performing on stage, and he tells Issa, that's the guy that I want to meet. I want to switch up his sound. I want to make it better. And so he starts to beatbox, and he beatboxes into Issa's ear, and Issa leans in to listen to him. And I thought that was a very sweet moment that they shared together. And then Daniel, he's like, you don't think that's corny? And Issa's like, nah, I like it. And the reason why he asked her that question is because there was a scene where he's babysitting his niece, and he's playing this really good beat for her. And the niece is like, yeah, it's cool, but sometimes I want to act ratchet, your music makes me want to think. And I'm like, but why? And I think that's a lot of, I have a feeling Daniel is not the only music producer that is going through that, where you want to make some really good music, but the generation of today, or what is popular out there, is this mindless music. Like, like I was at the gym with two of my friends, and we were making a joke about 21. We were supposed to do 21 reps or something, and so I joked around. I was like 21, 21, 21, 21, 21, 21, because that's one of the, I think, the songs that 21 Savage, that's his name, does. And then there's that other rap song, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci. Like I know, like, I'm a 90s kid. I know for a fact that those two particular rap artists would have not survived in the 90s. Never. But these days, that that is what's popping right now. And like I said, I'm sure music producers like Daniel, they're going through that. Remember the movie Brown Sugar? Tay Diggs' character, this is what he was struggling with. He worked for a record company, and they were here signing. I think they signed that horrible rap duo, the black guy and the white guy, and they were just making horrible music. And Tay Diggs' character was like, "Nah, this is not what I want. This is not hip hop to me." And eventually, he broke off to form his own rap company with the help of Sydney, his friend, his childhood friend, and that's where he discovered Mos Def's character. And it was Mos Def's character that he wanted to manage, because he's like, this is what hip hop is about. And I think this is the thing that Daniel is going through. Funny thing is, when the rap artist that Daniel wanted to produce, when he was finished performing, another rap artist came to perform, and I liked her music. It was a female, and I liked her music, and I was like, Daniel, these are the type of people that you need to produce, because I think she'll be more than willing. She'll be open to you producing for her, because you are making those complicated beats, and the beat that she was rapping to, it had a good flow. She had a good flow as well. So who knows if in the next episode he would be willing to help her out, or at least to find a rap artist that would be open to work with him. Because in the next scene, Issa encourages him, just go and talk to him, to the rap artist. I think his name is Swiss or something like that. So Daniel's like, aye. So he goes. Issa, when they get there, Swiss is talking to Kendall, and so Issa looks at Daniel looks at Issa, and Issa goes to Kendall to distract him. Basically, Issa was Daniel's wing woman. So she goes and starts a conversation with Kendall, starts asking him about his son. And then that gives the opportunity for Daniel to talk to Swiss. So they're talking, but Swiss is he's not really in the conversation, until Daniel said he produced a track for T Dollar, whatever. And Swiss is like, yeah, I heard that song. It was cool. And then Daniel is like, Issa is like, oh, like that broke it sort of, yeah, it broke Daniel's ego. And Daniel's like, well, that was 6 months ago, I'm working on something new. And Swiss is not listening. Instead, he's paying attention to the fight that's breaking out in the club. And then eventually shots starts to fire. Daniel and Issa, they go low on the ground with Daniel covering Issa. I thought that was so sweet. And then in the next scene, both Daniel and Issa, they're at this fast food joint, and Daniel is just speaking his frustrations onto her. He's basically frustrated that his time hasn't come yet, that he's been working on his music, on his beats, on his production for such a long time, and yet nobody's recognizing it. Nobody is really appreciating it. And Issa, she's being the supportive role. She's telling Daniel, at least you have a passion. I haven't found what I'm passionate about. So I get where you're coming from, but you're really good at what you do. And she even encourages Daniel, why don't you collab? it doesn't have to be a competition between you and Kendall. Why don't you collab with him? And Daniel's like, what? Once again, his pride. And she's like, listen, I understand how hard it is to ask for help. It was even hard for me to ask you for help to stay longer. And then Daniel, he looks at Issa. He's like, you know what, Issa, I enjoy your company. You can stay as long as you want. And then Issa, she says, thank you, but what about Vanessa? And then Daniel is like, huh? And Issa's like, Vanessa. He's like, she'll be alright. She'll be alright. It's my place anyway, so she'll be alright. so yeah. So they go back to his place. Issa did get a notification. No, she got a voicemail from the people who she was applying to be a project manager, and they would like for her to come in for an interview. But she didn't tell Daniel that, which is kind of interesting because I guess she's thinking if she tells Daniel, then that means that eventually it will signal Daniel that she won't be singing as long as they both want her to stay. Because I think at this point they both enjoy each other's company. They enjoy being around each other. So I don't think Issa wants to ruin that perspective, I guess. And besides, this is an interview, but it's most like, I hope, the way, as I said, I want to see growth from Issa. I hope she does get this position. And, the title project manager, it sounds as if it will pay her better than what she's being paid at We Got Y'all. So no doubt in my mind, if she gets this job, she'll be more than financially able to live on her own. But I think now it's a question of, will she want to leave Daniel's place? I hope she does. Like I said, I want to see her grow. And this episode does show her growth. It shows her in the supportive role. And kind of in a way, we didn't see that with her relationship with Lawrence. Yes, she did support Lawrence financially wise, but emotionally wise, she really didn't support she didn't support Lawrence in that way. Whereas here, of course, she can't support Daniel financially. She's broke herself, but she's here supporting Daniel emotionally, supporting him, tendering to him, and basically telling him, "Hey, let go of your male ego, let go of your male pride. Collaborate with Kendall, and it might help you to step up your game as a music producer. It might do that, or it might help you to keep your integrity as a music producer because you know what's good and you know what's trash. But it may also help you see what's hot out there, and maybe you can mix that with your sounds, Like, this is what Issa is providing for Daniel, and Daniel does listen to her counsel, and he does call Kendall, and he calls Kendall and say, hey, let's collaborate with each other, so he does take Issa's advice. So I don't know where this relationship is going to. Is going to. In the preview for next week's episode, we see that Issa and Daniel are now sleeping in the same bed. There's no sex, it's just that they're sleeping in the same bed. So there's that what if possibility of, where is this relationship between the two of them? Where is it going to go to? So yeah. So that's my review for Insecure Season 3, Episode 2. I think the title for this episode was Familiar Like. I enjoyed this episode. There are people that are complaining that the season is starting off slow. I mean, which it is, but I like the pace that it's going. There are even some people that said the music scene between Daniel and Issa, where he's beatboxing in her ear, is so cliche and it doesn't make sense. I totally disagree with that. I think it makes perfect sense. The one thing that brings the thing that brings Issa and Daniel together is music. This is, remember in season 1 when Issa went to the club on her birthday with Molly, and she sees Daniel. Daniel basically encourages her to go up on stage and do her rap because he remembered how how good she used to rap back in college, and she does that. And then 5 episodes later, in episode 6, when Issa goes back to Daniel's studio, Daniel is here producing this trash ass group. I don't know why. And, you know, he's looking kind of frustrated. He looks at Issa. Issa looks at him like, bruh. And they both laugh at each other. And then when the group leaves, he tells Issa, yo, go into the booth and start doing your freestyles. And Issa's like, nah, I don't know. He's like, I have a beat for you. Just go and do it. And then they go and do it. And she's there busting out her rhymes. And this is how they're connecting to each other. And they connected so well that they slept with each other. And unfortunately, that was the beginning of the end for her and Lawrence, because she cheated on Lawrence. But it's always music that brings these two together. And I think Daniel tried to replicate that with his relationship with Vanessa. Anytime when he brought up his music to Vanessa, he was trying to see if he will have that same connection with her. And Vanessa, she didn't reciprocate that. She was just like, yeah, whatever. She basically brushed it off. So that scene in the club where he's beatboxing into Issa's ear, the beat that he wants to improve for Swift, and Issa leans in and she's listening to it. I thought that was a beautiful scene because once again, it's showing that it's music that is bringing. It's music that always brings Issa and Daniel together. It's music that keeps them connected. It's music is like their foundation for both Issa and Daniel. So I think that scene, I think it was symbolic in a way. You know, Issa is the only woman that understands Daniel's passion and drive to be a successful musical producer. So yeah, I appreciated that scene. So yeah, that's my review. Comment below. Tell me what you thought about this episode. Please please subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!